Yeah. Alrighty, and now we're recording. Alrighty. So I already said hello to everyone. So hello if you're watching on YouTube or whatever. And we finished. I think I need to zoom in here. We finished chapter 2. Yeah, we finished chapter 2. We're going on to chapter 3. In chapter 2, chapter 2 was concerning how Hashem creates from his perspective, and also how creation happens just in general. And the two major themes that I kind of took note of was yesh ma'ayin, which is something from no thing. Russell had a good comment about that we're talking about things, and we're going from no thing to something, and that's what Hashem does. Hi, Mercy. And Hashem creates from nothing. Yesh ma'ayin. That's there in the Hebrew. Yesh ma'ayin. Mem is a prefix. It means from. Bait usually means from. Yesh ma'yesh. Yesh ma'yesh. I hope that's right in Hebrew. I had to type that out myself. Is something from something. So this is what all of creation can do if they're able to create. We, even as humans, we create things yesh me-yesh, something from something else. And it's from things that Hashem created from no thing. That was basically chapter 2. And we also learned, I didn't write this down, we learned that Hashem uses what is anthropomorphically his speech organs, such as the tongue, teeth, and guttural sounds in the throat, in the mouth, to create these sounds, and he creates them. He creates all things using permutations of the words and the letters, and they descend through the worlds. And so chapter 3, we're going to talk, I believe, more about that. Okay, here we go. The Alter Rebbe has explained that the activating force of the Creator must constantly be vested within creation, ceaselessly recreating and reanimating creation beings ex nihilo, which is yesh ma'ayin. This force consists of the creative letters which emanate from the 5 supernal organs of verbal articulation. So very good. They concisely said that, what I just said. Now, following these words of truth concerning the nature of creation, namely that the activating force must continually be vested in created beings and create them ex nihilo. Every discerning person will understand clearly that every creature and being, even though it appears to have an existence of its own, is in reality considered to be absolute naught and nothingness. So our reality, even though it's a reality, isn't the ultimate reality. In relation to the activating force which creates it and the breath of his mouth, which is within it, continuously calling into existence and bringing it from absolute non-being into being, from nothing to literally something, from literally nothing to something. Mamish. Ma'ayin mamish leyesh. From nothing, literally, to something. Since this function must be continuous, it follows that the creature's activating force is the true reality of its existence. The being itself bears no comparison to the activating force, which is wholly responsible for its existence. The reason that all things created and activated appear to us as existing, i.e., self-subsisting and tangible, and we fail to see the divine activating force, which is the true reality of created being, of any created being, is that we do not comprehend nor see with our physical eyes. I wonder what he says for physicals. I mean, yeah. Physicalize the power of God and the breath of his mouth, which is in the created thing. So this is like a new concept that I think he just introduced this chapter. The breath of his mouth. If, however, the eye were permitted to see and to comprehend the life force and spirituality which is in every created thing, flowing into it from that which proceeds from the mouth of God and his breath, then the physicality, materiality, and tangibility of the creature would not be seen by our eyes at all. For it, this physicality, etc., is completely nullified in relation to the life force and the spirituality which is within it. The haruchnias, the ruach. So you have the haya and the ruach related to the life force and the spirituality which is within it. Since without the spirituality within it, it would be not an absolute nothingness, exactly as before the 6 days of creation, at which time the creature was utterly non-existent. The spirituality that flows into it from that which proceeds from the mouth of God and his breath, that alone continuously brings it forth from naught and nullity into being. And this spirituality gives it existence. It's interesting. He's talking about breath, but he's also talking about spirituality. But I think the root word of that is ruach. Using it a little bit differently here. Hence, there is a true nothing besides him, and any created being apart from the divinity, the only true reality that brings it into existence.
So, James, do you see? I mean, are they talking about the 54 letter name of God that emanates, being that emanates from the mouth of Adam Kadmon?
They could be,
And it's
maybe.
also, yeah. And is that the breath that Hashem breathed into the nostrils of Adam to, for, on the level of neshama, the level of bria?
Uh, it could be. He gets into that, and I forget if it's that type of breath or if it's even an even deeper breath, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Well, that'd be interesting if
It
it.
did. Yeah, he talks about it. I forget if it's in Shar HaYehud V'Emunah here. I think it is, or if it's in part what we would call what's really called part one, but for us would be the next part two. But yes, in other words, I think there's an extra type of breath which is more of a deeper, more labored breath, like say you're blowing the shofar or something like that. But
Hmm.
I'll let the Alter Rebbe say that. But I think you're onto something.
Okay.
The spirituality that flows into, okay, Okay, I think, yeah, his we already talked about that. Hence, there is truly nothing besides him. So our physicality, it looks real. We can pick things up, but the reality is the true reality is only Hashem. We are just emanations of his speech, so to speak. On a physicist level, even though that's still in this world of action, you have subatomic particles, and we're constantly sharing each other's subatomic particles and these different um, what's the word, dimensions and things like this that goes on. And the only reason why we can pick things up is because we're having an electromagnetic repulsion of our electrons, and that's what causes things to feel as if we can touch them and things like that. But that's more what they're saying is it's kind of just an illusion. The ultimate reality really is Hashem. Hence, there is truly nothing besides him. Bilado. I think we just read that maybe in this week's Parsha. um, the created being does not constitute a true reality in as much as it is wholly dependent from its existence on the continuous flow of divine life force. And I think that's Haya, I think is what he's referring to. Indeed, its existence verily consists of that activating force. The Alter Rebbe proceeds to demonstrate how this is true of creatures that appear to be tangible by means of an illustration. An illustration of this is the light of the sun, which illumines the earth and its inhabitants. This illumination is the radiance and the light which spreads forth from the body of the sun and is visible to all as it gives light to the earth and the expanse of the universe. Universe says ha'olam here. I really like to look at the Hebrew occasionally because there's deeper things going on. Giving light to ha'olam and things like this. Who's supposed to be a light to the ha'olam or legoim or something, or la'olam, the light to the nations, piercing through the noga or piercing through the klipa. Now it is obvious that this light and radiance is also present in the very body and matter of the sun globe itself in the sky. So why does he call it a sun globe? Because I think the sun is considered one of the spheres in the celestial heavens. So a lot of times you see them called spheres. For if it can spread forth and shine to such a great distance, then certainly it can shed light in its own place. So we experience light here. So of course you're going to be able to shed the light in its own place. Mamish. In its own the light's in its own literal place. However, there in its own place, this radiance is considered naught and complete nothingness. For it is absolutely non-existent in relation to the body of the sun globe, which is the source of this light and radiance. So it's kind of like saying, if you can see the sun right now, you see all this light bouncing off everything, but when you're in space and you're there, it's kind of like you're so enveloped in it, but at the same time it looks pitch black if you look around space. Inasmuch as this radiance and light is merely the illumination which shines from the body of the sun globe itself. Since the sun's light is merely an illumination deriving from the sun, it is in a state of complete nothingness, while it is found within the sun globe itself. One cannot say that within the body of the sun there is sunlight. Only the sun itself is there. So I've tried to figure this out. Like I know what he's saying, but like even on a level that we can understand. So all you have all these nuclear explosions. Go ahead, Russ.
But the sun on the surface, if you know, when they look at the surface of the sun, there's dark spots.
Yeah.
So why would the sun have dark spots? Is the sun gives off no light to itself from
Yeah.
those pictures, what it shows. And so it's kind of what it's saying here with, you know, the body, I mean the sunlight, only the sun itself is found there. So there's no, is it saying there's no light there, but only the sun itself is there?
I think the light is absorbed into the sun. Like the light and the sun are so close that it literally is the same thing. It's kind of like
Yeah.
if you see a shadow, you see you're in a
Mm.
light in a room full of objects, and you light a candle, and you put the candle up against the wall, you're not going to see a shadow of the flame. Uh, I think it's something kind of like that. But
Yeah.
I think we understand what he's getting at. That's a good point. Like there's dark spots on the sun, even though we know that's where light emanates.
So is the sunlight the noga of the sun?
Maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know how he's describing it in that kind of depth. In other
Well, yeah,
words, or maybe the only reason why we see the light is because it's reflecting off the noga or is shining through the noga.
yeah. Is this is this some kind of maybe metaphor or something
Yes. Oh, totally. He's just
for the Ein Sof to the Or
probably.
Ein Sof?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
which
so.
yeah, and
So
which is interesting because the if you have the Ein Sof and the Or Ein Sof, wouldn't the Or Ein Sof be the Noga of
that
the
is,
so
yeah, that's then the noga, right?
maybe so.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it'll be hard finding somebody to try to admit to that.
Yeah. It is only in the space of the universe under the heavens and on the earth where the body of the sun globe is not present, and all that is seen is but an illumination that emanates from it, that this light and radiance appears to the eye of all beholders to have actual existence. And here the term existence, yesh, can truly be applied to it. The sun's light and rays, as they appear outside of the sun globe, can truly be said to exist inasmuch as the sun itself is not found there. So it's only apart from the sun that it looks like it's existing. Right? So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I think that's what he's talking about. Yeah, it's in relation to the sun. Okay, where did I go? Yeah, here we go. Um, whereas when it is in its source in the body of the sun, the term existence cannot be applied to it at all. It can only be called not and non-existent. Okay, so it doesn't actually exist until it looks like it's a part of something else besides the sun. I think that's how he's putting it. There it is, indeed not an absolutely non-existent, for there only its source, the luminous body of the sun, gives light, and there is nothing besides it. So it only looks in appearance that it's existing on its own when it's not, these light particles are not in the sun itself. At a physical level, I don't think he's getting so deep. He's trying to use this as a allegory or whatever. To sum up, although the sun's rays are surely found within the body of the sun, they cannot be said to exist there. They are found there in a manner of non-existence, in a state in which their separate identity is utterly nullified. That which can be deemed to exist within the sun globe can be nothing other than the sun itself. So in other words, the light there is called the sun, and it's not actual, like, I don't know if I'd call it actually light or whatever, but it's just they're calling it the sun. The exact parallel to this illustration is the relationship between all created beings and the divine flow. So here we go. So he's going to give us another example here, another parallel. The relationship between all created beings and the divine flow of the life force that emanates from the breath of his mouth, which flows upon them and brings them into existence and is their source. So I guess the sun here, the parallel here would be the breath of his mouth, and the rays themselves, or maybe this is the rays. I think these are the rays, the created beings, and the divine flow. However, the created beings themselves are merely like a diffusing light. Oh, a rock kmo or. However, the created beings themselves are merely like a diffusing light and effulgence from the flow and spirit of God, which issues forth from him and becomes clothed in them and brings them from naught into being. So his words are put in like these diffusing lights into these created beings' life force, and it becomes enclosed in them and brings them from naught into being. Hence, their existence is nullified in relation to their source, just as the light of the sun is nullified and is considered not an utter nothingness. So from Hashem's point of view, it's all his words, it's everything is just not in him. It's just his, it's like from his perspective, they're nullified in him.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Robbie.
It's like E equals MC squared. Energy
Oh,
or
yeah.
light into an object and back out makes that object.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or just, yeah, right. Like you have all these different computations and things on this side of the equation, but it's really energy on the other side, right?
Right.
Like we are a condensed energy, right?
Yeah. Energy is God's light, and without God, there wouldn't be anything. It's just like God spoke, and light came out of His mouth, and there was light. And then later, He creates the sun.
Oh, yes, very good point. Right. That's a yes. Right.
Okay, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's good. Hence, their existence is nullified in relation to their source, just as the light of the sun is nullified and is considered not an utter nothingness, and is not at all referred to as existing when it is within its source. So we're not existing, we're not yesh from Hashem's point of view. When it is within its source, viz. The sun, the term existence applies to it only beneath the heavens, Hashemayim, where its source is not present. In the same manner, the term existence can be applied to all created things only as they appear to our corporal eyes. For we do not see nor at all comprehend the source, which is the Spirit of God that brings them into existence. Shehu Ruach Hashem. So I mentioned earlier, I don't know if it correlates, but the Ruach and the Haya that he was mentioning earlier. Therefore, since we do not see nor comprehend their source, it appears to our eyes that the physicality, materiality, and tangibility of created things actually exist. And this is kind of how we enter the world. We see all these things and we think like they actually exist. Just as the light of the sun appears to exist fully when it is within its source and is found within the expanse of the universe. Oh, excuse me. I thought that sounded weird. When it is not within its source and is found within the expanse of the universe. So we see particles. I would put it this way. We see light particles only when they're bouncing off of things or only when we're detecting them in some other way. Other than that, we don't see them. They're nullified in their source. We only see them when they're touching something that has been condensed into some kind of materiality. Or we're all like slow light particles, right? In truth, the source of all creatures is constantly found within them, our failure to perceive this notwithstanding. Hence, their existence is totally nullified in relation to their source, and they cannot be said to truly exist. And I'm saying this on my own here, but in Eastern culture, a lot of times, not to generalize too much, but like say in some things of like Buddhism, they'll tell you that nothing exists and there is absolutely no existence. And in more Western culture, they will say they'll have something called like objectivism, which is you can only know that which you can grasp and see with your eyes and smell with your nose and things like this. They go to the one end of the spectrum. This, though, it is a combination, or I don't know if combination is the right word, but it's different. It's saying that things exist, but they don't have an existence of their own. And in reality, they truly are nullified in their source. In other words, I like to put it this way: we exist enough. We exist enough.
Hey, James,
Yeah.
something real quick to see if I'm understanding this right. The reason we know the sun exists even when we can't see it is because of the sun rays, right? That justifies the existence of the sun. So just like our existence here justifies a creator's existence, because something, that proves, even though we can't see God,
Yeah.
but through our own existence, we have a conscious awareness of God.
Excellent. Yeah. And I don't think he described that here, but I think that's a good way to put it. Like you
And
can't
yeah.
go ahead. Yeah, I
No, I was just
totally
saying,
agree.
the sun rays, the sun's the sun, but it's only sun rays when it leaves the sun.
Yeah, you
So
wouldn't be
just
able
like,
to see it without the light.
right, exactly.
Uh, yeah. That's a good point. You can't see it. I think that's actually a good point. Now that I'm thinking about it more, Brad, that's a good analogy, I think. Because we wouldn't know about it. We couldn't comprehend it without being able to see it, right? We couldn't even begin to comprehend.
Right. I mean, that's the way I'm understanding this. I don't know,
Yeah,
how everybody else
that's
is.
good.
We were looking at it, you look at it. I guess one thing you have to see it in contrast and with something else, or you wouldn't. If everything was light, and if it was such an intense light, we would be the light, and you couldn't see the light.
Yeah.
But the fact that we have night and day, We have a contrast, so we know when there's sun rays. When do we know when there's sun rays? When it's nighttime and it's something's different. We see it in contrast with it. We know that the rays are not there now as they were during the day.
Yeah, it's excellent. I think that goes a lot deeper too. Like that can philosophically or even just deeper in Torah, right? You just when you lack knowledge, you need that contrast.
Yeah. And he goes back into in the Zohar that teaches, the black light and the white light. And how do we know what we're reading on the screen? We see the contrast between the white paper and the black ink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But in the following respect, the illustration is apparently not completely identical with the object of comparison. Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. Like I'm having a hard time sometimes with the analogies, right? And he's writing this, I forget, when is this, like the 1700s? So he's making these analogies, and then we know things from physics. You could maybe describe it a little bit differently, right? So he's just doing this for an illustration. The source, the sun, is not present at all in the expanse of the universe and upon the earth, where its light is seen as actually existing. Since the sun itself is not present upon the earth, its rays are able to assume a seeming reality of their own. It is therefore readily understandable why they are perceived as existing independently. Because if you couldn't see the sun, and if we didn't have the science to tell us that light was coming from the sun, you would maybe just think that light
Well, that is also
on its own.
explains Hashem's light, James.
Oh,
Hashem's light is the same.
yeah, I think that's kind of what we're talking. Yeah,
Physics is the same throughout all the worlds. It's a little different in each of the worlds per Bar Sadat's teachings of Abu Fala, but it's still that perception.
right.
That's why he's using those words. And it's wonderful that words from the 17th century still have meaning in this one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is even says, explicitly, is like this is an analogy. This is and because he's talking about reality. So yeah, that's a good way
Well,
to put it.
see, and Hashem is the only reality. Everything else is virtual.
Right. Yeah, right. Very good. By contrast, all created beings are always within their source. The divine activating force, which is continually found within them, constantly creating and animate them, ex nihilo, yesh ma'ayin. And it is only that the source is not visible to our physical eyes, since in reality they are indeed within their source at all times. Why are they not
Go ahead.
Oh, why are they not nullified in their source? So that's an interesting question. Hold on. He just explained to us that they are nullified. Why are they not nullified? Why are our physical eyes maybe just physicality? Why is it not nullified in their source? Why are creatures not nullified within their source in an obvious and revealed manner so that there is no mistaking them as independently existing beings? In other
Well,
words,
isn't he
yeah,
talking about the fact that we just can't see all of reality? We
yeah,
can't see what they eat. What Noah saw before the flood of the angels of death. They saw all the worlds. They saw all the supernal beings. We see nothing.
yeah. Like, how are we able to even see? Like, how are we seeing these objects if they're
With
supposed to be
blinders on,
nullified
of course.
with their nullified in their
That was
source?
Noah's job, was to nullify our eyes, to put blinders on the world. So the only thing we could really perceive was Hashem. It was a protection. He had to take another step.
That's interesting.
And he just made you think about it.
Yeah, that was a harsh way to think about it. So if you're drowning or in the flood there. Uh, why are creatures not nullified within their source in an obvious and revealed manner, so that there is no mistaking them as independently existing beings? It's like a common question that you get maybe from an atheist or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, why can't he just reveal it to us if he's all powerful? I think that was that called it's a Greek.
The point of a teacher is to make you think
Yeah, that's the Epicurean dilemma or something like that.
and to look at it and see it from different perspectives, right, Russell? I know he's hearing
That's
me.
right.
Yeah. In the Alter Rebbe, I believe he goes on to explain why this is necessary.
Do you not say a modeh ani every morning? Why do you say a modeh ani every morning?
No, some
Does it
people
not
don't.
fit here? See that from one, yes, but those who know from this, you take it from another perspective. That's why you say modeh ani. All of this fits all those perspectives.
Yeah, that I think you're onto something with the Modéani thing. And I think the Alter Rebbe is going to talk about this more when it comes to a mashal and like giving something to people that they can grasp, being able to condense. I'm getting some feedback here. I'm sorry, Linda. I think I had to mute you. But I don't. That doesn't mean I want you to not talk. But you were just producing feedback. I'm sorry. A mashal, for instance, if somebody's not able to grasp something, give it to them in like a parable, and then they're going to be able to grasp it, even though it's not the real thing. And this could very well be what our reality is, even though it's not ultimate reality. It allows us to grasp a higher concept, and I think the Alter Rebbe might go on to describe that. So, to understand this, some prefatory remarks are necessary. The Alter Rebbe goes on to explain that the divine power of concealment and contraction is responsible for hiding God's light so that it will not be perceptible to created beings. This enables creation to be perceived as possessing existence, whereas in reality it is totally nullified within its source. So that was the end of chapter 3. Anybody have anything that they want to talk about before we go on to chapter 4?
James, was that this teaching in parables or in allegories or something? Was that something that the Baal Shem Tov did or brought down
Yeah.
through his students?
Yes, very good point, Russell. That might actually been. I might have even read that that's how the Alter Rebbe describes the Baal Shem Tov, or somebody did. I forget. I'm sorry, my source, but there was something I read where that yes, you give things over and things that the mind, a human being, a child, hinuch katan. You give things over in the way that they should go, their way. So you have to give a child, you have to condense whatever it is to help them understand what it is. A child might not understand not to go wandering out in the woods. They think the woods is fun. But if there's wolves out there, you're going to have to tell them there's a big, scary beast out there. If you tell them there's just a wolf out there, they're not going to understand it. Something will eat you. I guess, yeah, 9:40. Chapter 4, I'm glad you guys are with me. We've got some great minds participating with us. Chapter 4 and 5, it gets really deep, really quick. And I usually have a hard time with all this stuff. So I'm glad I have you guys on board. 4 and 5, there's a lot of the lessons in Tanya commentary. There's a lot more than what there was before. So I guess let's just go ahead and dive in. Since the divine activating force responsible for the existence of created things must continuously be present within them, they are completely nullified in their source. This means that the Alter Rebbe explained in the previous chapter that in reality they do not exist. Why then do we nevertheless perceive created beings as enjoying a tangible existence? Only because we're unable to see or comprehend the divine utterance that is contained within each created thing, and that calls it into being. So we can't see utterances. It's kind of like maybe seeing words or seeing speech. We can't really see it. But he's
Which
saying,
is what made Sinai so exciting, because they could see the utterances.
Wow, that goes in with the ein ba'ein, the eye to eye thing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we won't see. I don't think the Alter Rebbe talks about it in this text, but there's some other points. I don't want to go too deep in it, but Hasidei Umot Ha'olam, which is what a lot of people call certain non-Jews, they are still in the Helm. They are still in the concealment, and they what's the word I was looking for? Oh, they have a more deistic view of Hashem, of God. So, for instance, they believe that they really do exist. That's kind of like the definition of the Umot Ha'olam and the Hasidei Umot Ha'olam.
Pure
Because
insanity.
so the Umot Ha'olam believe that they're the only existence. They don't necessarily believe in God. Hasidei Umot Ha'olam, however, they do believe in God, but they believe he's like over there, so to speak, and they see him through a noga. He's resting, or he's the noga, yeah. So, and that's but as we're going through this, we're going kind of beyond that Hasidei Umot Ha'olam view, which is very important for non-Jews in my perspective. You're going past that concealment. We're starting to get introduced, just like this work is called Shar, gate, Shar HaYehud V'Emunah. We're going through a gate as we're understanding this stuff. If you really are understanding it, you know what I mean? Like, it really takes some study, but I think everybody here is capable, or already know that, you know what I'm saying. But this is a gate. Why then do we nevertheless perceive created beings as enjoyable? Okay, we already read that. The Alter Rebbe illustrated this by considering the sun's rays when they are not within their source, the sun, but diffused throughout the expanse of the universe. They are perceived as having independent existence. However, when they are contained within the sun globe, they clearly have no such existence at all.
That's exactly us in Hashem.
Yes,
our
all of
relationship
creation.
to Hashem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of creation. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But more specifically, I believe he is addressing the fact that we need to pay attention to this, that Hashem is the existence.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And we may only be a ray of that existence. Our soul may be a ray. You know, we'll know more. We'll know more later down the road.
Yeah.
The
Well,
possibility.
isn't that the whole concept of him withdrawing himself from
Yes.
himself in order to create something new? If he wouldn't have done that, you know, we couldn't have existed because it would be him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you guys are talking about this, because there's a concept in Hebrew called miskaven, and I don't know the root of the word, but it basically means when you're you understand something and you see something similar to a Rav. Like, for instance, you've had this deduction, this logical idea, this Torah concept, and then one day you come across it and you read it and you're like, oh, he's explaining exactly what you were thinking. That's called miskaven. And you guys are being miskaven to what the Alter Rebbe is getting ready to say here. in order to answer this question, how can we have this individuality, this existence, without being nullified into the source? In order to answer this question, the Alter Rebbe wrote that a certain preface would be necessary. And this is what you two, I think, were talking about. And hence this, the 4th chapter, now elaborates on God's capacity for tzimtzum, or contraction. Literally contraction, the process of divine self-contraction and self-limitation, which makes possible the concept of limited worldly existence. So limited existence.
And that's what we have. That's what all creation has.
Yeah, we have a bit of existence, but it's not real. Like, it just appears to it with our existing eyes. Existence looks that way. We're on, like, it's just like a world. Like, something exists in this one world you can see and feel, or other things in the world are tangible, but it's not the end world. It's not the ultimate reality. It's a expression. It is written, for a sun and a shield is Havaya Elohim. So he, instead of using the name Hashem, the Alter Rebbe uses Havaya.
That's because this is at Atzilut and above. Havia is used by the Jewish Rebbes. Teresa and I were just studying this. Havia is used for the highest level of Adonai, of the four-letter code. It's the highest level. And usually the Rebbes speak of him, our teachers speak of Havia, when they want us to consider and look to the highest level possible for us to understand, conceivably perceive. But that is why when they talk to you and they teach, Havia is usually only said in a minyan of 10 on Yom Kippur, when they're working at forgiveness and they're working at getting the radiance of Hashem, his Shifa, to come down to us on Yom Kippur. So
in the last prayer.
Oh, wow.
Yes, in the last prayer.
Yeah.
And that it's very, very important when they say, and I'm going to say it soft because you don't want to say it out loud, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. When those words are said, Havia is thought at the same time. This is a very powerful high name. And when they start with Havia first rather than Elohim first, it's coming from above down to here, not us ascending up. It's it coming to us.
Oh, that's amazing. So okay, that's the higher level. Interesting. I'll tell you what, the women's classes, the women's studies are by far, and I've seen this before, I've seen the women on Facebook talk about Torah, the things that they're studying, Hasidus and all this thing. It makes the men's groups look like a bunch of Neanderthals. Like,
No, it doesn't. You guys are smart.
well, no, like
Smarter than us.
no,
I'm telling you.
no, I from my experience, the women really seem to get things on a deeper level, and I think like Russell and I and some of the other guys in our groups we trying to hash things out with halacha and things like this, but I think there's this higher level of understanding, such as Hasidus and things like that, that is
Can I
really
say-
lacking in a lot of the things that we talk about. Did
When God was
Robbie, did you
creating-
want to say something?
Yeah. When I got my mouth full of ice cream. Okay. When God was creating, he created in reverse order from the least to the greatest. And the last thing he created was the Sabbath. But right before that was a woman. And a woman is on a higher level than a man in all 10 spheres that we're made out of. She has a little bit more. But the man is supposed to lead the woman and be her helpmate, and she be his helpmate. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it, Robbie.
Yeah, but the women shouldn't get big head.
No kidding.
Well, I think there's I think the world really is headed for Mashiach, and I think we're really seeing the redemption. And I think this class, I think the group of us and everybody who's watching and coming to this class, we are doing something phenomenal by going beyond this concealment, and we're getting introduced into a way of looking at Hashem that is not like the nations look like Hashem. Very good. It is written, for a sun and shield is Havaya Elohim. And I'm going to try and say the K sound, even though it's not really, it's a hey sound. But I think you guys can all see that. And I'm going to use that say Elohim to try and protect the name.
Yes.
Just as the sun gives forth illumination, so too does the fourth letter divine name Havaya provide us with spiritual illumination. Likewise, just as the sun's shield protects us from the intensity of its rays, so too does God shield us with the divine name Elohim. That's kind of what you guys were talking about, I think. Shield refers specifically to that shield which is a covering for the sun. Shield here is the Magen David, Magen Avraham, to protect creatures so that they should not be able to bear it. So yeah, like if we saw the intensity of the sun, so to speak, we would burn away, we would be nullified.
So does that not take you directly to the things you've learned about when he says in the end times he will remove the sun's sheath? Or when the nations who have refused to accept him and say, yes, we did, just give us a chance. He says, okay, go to the sukkah. And what happens?
Right.
It's so hot they kick the door down, running out.
Right.
So this, I think this refers to that. I think he's referring to that.
I think so too. And we're in these times, I think.
And he also said that he would keep the special light. Now that's sheath. That's his righteousness, the light of his righteousness in a sheath, and only for the righteous after Mashiach comes.
Oh,
see, so there'll be more righteous light revealed once Mashiach gets here and starts doing stuff.
Well, I hope to see that.
Me too.
Maybe unless it's too much for me or something.
I hope not. I hope I've gotten my act together by then.
Right. As our sages of blessed memory have said, in time to come, i.e. in the Messianic era, the Holy One, blessed be He, will take out the sun from its sheath. The wicked will be punished by it.
I jumped ahead and didn't know
you
it.
guys are all jumping ahead. You guys are all
sorry.
You know what I'm going to do? Just blank the screen and I'll just record you guys talking. And then at the end of class, we'll figure out that we're actually at chapter 5 of Lukuteum. I'm kidding. But it's funny.
I'm so sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. I'm just explaining that you guys are Muscovin. That's a good sign. I think it means we're in a good place here. The Holy One, blessed be He, will take out the sun from its sheath. The wicked will be punished by it, as they will be unable to bear the intensity of the sun. The passage goes on to say that the righteous will not only be able to tolerate it, they will actually be healed by it. Wow. I remember that now. Very interesting. Now, just as the covering shields the sun, protecting creatures from the intensity of its rays so that benefit may be derived from it, so does the name Elohim shield the name Havaya, blessed be He. Interesting. Enabling the created universe to absorb the divine illumination that emanates from it. Our opening verse from a sun and shield is Havaya Elohim. Thus means that the name Havaya illuminates like the sun, while the name Elohim screens its illumination like the sheath of the sun. enabling its light to be received. It reminds me of how people believe in God, or they say, yeah, I believe in God. Kind of like we were talking about the Hasidei Mota'alam earlier. But is there a deeper understanding of God, such as he really is the ultimate existence? The meaning of the name Havaya is that which brings everything into existence, yesh ma'ain, in ex nihilo, ma'ain la yesh, from nothing to something. The letter, the Rebbe notes this refers to the last three letters, He, Vav, and He of this name, which form the letter Hove, excuse me, I mispronounced that. The root of the verb, which means to bring into being. You hear that, Russell? The letter Yud prefixed to the stem Hove modifies the verb, indicating that the action is present and continuous. So it ising. So if this means to be, then the actual name of Hashem means ising constantly. He's ising. He is the thing
one of the name, one of the meanings,
right.
just one.
Yeah, we're
Just
talking
one.
about just this present time, right?
Yeah.
James, can we go back and reread those two?
Oh,
We
sure.
had SpaceX was going off.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's okay.
We're
That's
launching
okay.
rockets over here.
Oh,
Oh,
that's funny.
Lord.
Okay, so we're talking about the name Havaya and Hashem. The Rebbe notes this refers to the last three letters, He, Vav, and He of his name, of this name. Oh, actually, no, it's talking about this name, Havaya, which I think would also be Hashem, which formed the letter Hove, the root of the verb, which means to bring into being. So I mentioned you, Russell, at the end of that because I think you would have got a kick out of that. Like, you know what it's talking about. The letter Yud prefixed to the stem Hove modifies the verb, indicating that the action is present and continuous. As Rashi comments on the verse, in this manner was Yov accustomed to do Ya'ase all these days. All the days.
In this manner was Job.
I think that's interesting, James, because we were just learning Baruch, we were just learning about three words used in the blessings we say every day that have the same situation going on with the verb. That the verb is used, see, it indicates that the action is present and continuous. So it's more like a noun rather than a verb. So we were just learning that there are three words when we say our blessings every day that do the same thing, that the action is present and continuous.
Can you say those?
Teresa, help me out. Baruka, Yehud, what's the third one?
Why?
Baruka something Yehud.
Yeah. What is? No, Baruka, Yehud are the second and third word.
Right. So what's the other one?
You make me run get my book.
Is it in the daily prayer? Is it in
Well, this is in the book we're studying with Avraham Sutton called Blessings. And I'm telling you, it's powerful beyond means, powerful beyond words, so powerful. And when we say these when we say these blessings every morning, there are certain words we say. Baruch atah, we say we say Yehud, we say these three words all the time. And what's really happening is that the verb in these
Kedusha.
blessings, what?
Kedusha.
Kadush. Okay.
Kedusha, Baruka, Yehud.
Yehud. Those three words do the same thing. So what's happening here is the verbs in Hebrew. Now this is in Hebrew. The verbs in Hebrew are acting as nouns, and they're constant, present, and constantly renewing continuously. So when we say our blessings, we are renewing with Hashem creation. This is what the Alter Rebbe's getting at here.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I'll try to. And if we come across it more in his writing, point it out again. You know what I mean?
Well, it was so powerful, I can't shut up. I'm sorry.
That's cool. Interesting.
I can't. Teresa, help.
You're just like a fountain
mute you, Linda.
In this manner, Yov. So Yov is very interesting because Yov, I don't believe he was considered a Yisrael. Isn't there some?
No?
Yeah.
Job was a ger.
Okay.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Job was a ger, and he was one of the advisors to Pharaoh who got out because he didn't want to have to deal with working for the backside anymore.
Very cool. Well, it is 10 o'clock, and I don't think we're going to get through chapter 4 at all.
Oh, my fault.
No. I mean, I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking. My wife says like I say things or I do things like I'm socially awkward. I wasn't saying that about you guys at all. I literally meant that this chapter is just super long, and even if we didn't even have any conversations, we wouldn't be.
It's a powerful.
Yeah,
it's a very powerful chapter, I can tell.
So
I mean, if it's bringing all these things to mind with just the simple statements the Alter Rebbe's making, just think how wise he was.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really breaking it down. It's very cool.
Yep.
And I think it's just great for us, non-Jews being able to read this and acquire this. I feel like this is what we are supposed to be doing. Like we're supposed to be coming out of the concealment, right? And the foolishness of that concealment, and we're coming into a real knowledge, like in the end times when the knowledge of Hashem will cover the world, will cover everything like the waters cover the seabed. And this is part of that knowledge, I believe. Like you have to know your creator to the greatest of your extent. And the Alter Rebbe talks about that. You should, if you have the ability, if your intellect has the ability to grasp something, then you should grasp it, right? Alrighty. Well, I think that was a good class. I really enjoyed the input. And does anybody have anything else that they want to share? Alrighty.
No. It was a good class. Thank you, James.
Yeah, well, thank you, everyone.
James.
Thank you so much, everybody, for showing up. I really appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you, James.
It means a lot to me, and I think it's going to mean a lot to the redemption.
I have something to
Thank
say.
you.
Thank you. Say that again, Robbie.
After the recording is off, I want to say something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Let me stop recording and